Uh-oh, we're live.
Shortly. Yeah, you're live now.
Oh, great, because I had a question.
Hi,
How do you say
Mom.
that? How do you say that guy's name? Fauci?
Fauci.
Fauci.
Like ouchie, but with an F.
Yep.
Fauci.
The way Dave starts off every word.
It's
No, that's Gretchen.
it's
Yeah, like right when I logged on, he's like, "Fuck you all." I'm like, I got here just in time.
Fuck the world.
Clearly, I didn't miss anything.
that's how they say it in Italian. Go fouch yourself.
Nice. All right, are we ready?
Not even remotely.
Uh,
It's up to Gretchen. You good?
I'm fine.
You know all this stuff, right?
Yeah, more or less.
That's good because
We may, by the time we get to the end, we may have to do some bullshitting, but
well, that's be a first.
I know that Eric is primed and ready for some serious bullshitting. So
oh yeah.
because
That's
Eric knows to expect that he
I
may
had
have
to. I
he may
spent.
have to bullshit at some point.
I
Bullshitting's
spent
like
all
90% of
day.
my life.
I spent all day cutting the article from 3,000 words to 1,300.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's been a intense day. So
Or just
anyway,
remove every other word. I mean, at least 15.
well, I started by taking all the adjectives out, and that didn't do it. So yeah, so I haven't read any of this. It's just this midweek stuff is killing me. But
Yeah.
if we're ready to
agree.
go, I guess we're ready to go.
As long as you don't have the word dramatically in there, we're good.
As long as you what?
Don't have the word dramatically in there, we're good.
Dramatically. That was
Awesome.
funny.
Go
All right.
pound sand. All right.
I'm glad you guys all like each other.
Shut up, I'm gonna do an open.
All right, I'm rolling.
And welcome.
to Odd-
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay, take two.
This is
Yeah.
David's first time.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Dave, do you want to do it instead? Go for it.
No, I really don't even want to be here, but go ahead.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. And that's live on YouTube. Damn.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to edit that out.
All right, hold on.
Oh,
No,
let them know the truth.
Isn't that what YouTube's all about? Is truth?
It is. Well, our
Exactly.
YouTube anyway. I don't know about other people, but ours
Well,
is.
that's, ours is, yes.
All right, rolling.
Welcome to On Target Radio. I'm Eric Allen. On tonight's show, your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz, will be talking about what's next for Trump's COVID-19 task force, what some Republicans think of Fauci. We'll talk about our beloved governor and what he's been up to, and amidst the pandemic, how are President Trump's approval ratings? All that and more on tonight's pre-recorded version of On Target Radio. Remember to like our Facebook page, On Target Radio, or watch us on YouTube, On Target Radio, where you can even go back and view the archive shows.
So the big showdown came between Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci. And I think that's been brewing for quite a while. He has no love lost there. Trump has kind of played the centrist line on this thing, but and it wasn't really, I don't think any blood was shed, but Rand Paul got in his, the Native Americans used to talk about counting coup. They, bat on each other with a mallet. So, but I have to say, I think you saw that meme that was on. I think you put the first one on about is it safe to return back to normal life or something like that? Didn't you put that up?
I think it was a poll that somebody put up, and I answered the poll, so then it automatically posted to my Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah, my answer was I never stopped doing it. I just it's the article that will be in the next issue of the 1/3 of the article that I wrote that will be in the next issue of the Illinois Shooter really does talk about this very subject, and I don't want anybody to think that that in any way that I don't believe in the medical aspect of this. I do. As you know, I've had personal losses in it, and so I certainly believe it. But the whole thing sort of smelled bad to begin with. That's the impression.
Yeah, no question. So, I mean, it sounds like Rand Paul was mostly polite to Dr. Fauci. He just said, I don't think you're the be all and end all of, authorities on this topic, on,
Right.
on COVID-19. And, later on Fox, Rand Paul went into more detail. He said, I don't question Dr. Fauci's motives. I think he's a good person. I think he wants what's best for the country, but he's an extremely cautious person. We have to take with a grain of salt these experts and their prognostication. But I do love it. They said in one of the more tense moments of Tuesday's hearing, Rand Paul said the public health response to the pandemic has been riddled with wrong prediction after wrong prediction.
Well, and that's really the truth of it. A person like Fauci, you need to have him. He's like an attorney. They tell you the safe course, right? But the job of a leader, a president of a corporation or of a country, is to take all of that information and figure out what's the best way to deal with the situation. The thing that has irked me is there's this mindset of people who go, don't you dare leave your house and go out because you're endangering my life. And I'm like, excuse me, let me just kind of put this in perspective. For you to feel more comfortable should not infringe on my constitutional right to do something. If you're uncomfortable, you stay home. You don't go
right,
out.
exactly. We went to a protest on Saturday, and now I would say 90%. Would you say 90% of the people were agreeing with us that Illinois?
Oh yeah, by far. Yeah.
Illinois needs to reopen its economy and its businesses and get back to work. And there was probably about 10% of the people who were screaming at us negatively and flipping the bird. I went to the Rahm Emanuel School of Flipping the Bird, so I never let an opportunity to pass by. But there was one. I remember one young woman. She looked to be in her 20s, and she's screaming, "You're gonna kill us all!" And I'm thinking, you're out of your house too, darling. So I'm not exactly sure what you think is going on here.
Are you talking about the one who was sitting on top of the car?
No, not her. It was somebody who was just making a left turn in front of us. And she just screamed at us as she went by.
Because I talked that one down finally.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, she was ranting and raving, and I just logicked her out, and she just stopped ranting and raving and said, "Okay."
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. But the other thing that has bothered me about this, aside from the whole New World Order issue, which we may or may not get into, but the other thing that bothered me about this is the one size fits all.
Yeah.
If you look at the state of Illinois, at the various counties, there's only a couple that have anything reported.
Right.
There's vast tracts of Illinois south of I-80 that have nothing.
Yeah, Will County actually has had a lot of cases compared to our population, but I saw a headline that we had no deaths for 2 days in a row, so that was really good news.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised with DuPage County's numbers that they were so high, but it kind of goes with the rest of Illinois and the gun control and all that. A lot of what Illinois does is centered around Cook County and Chicago, and that seems to be the case again in this time. They are kind of splitting up the state, but at the same time, they're lumping a lot into that Cook County, Chicago area.
But can you imagine if you live down, around Carbondale or places down there where there's nothing, and these people are expected to abide by the same thing, lose their businesses in many cases, really.
I wouldn't be happy.
For nothing, for no reason whatsoever. Right. That's one of the issues that's bothered me the most. That this, everybody has to do the exact same thing. As you well know, I barely change what I do normally. And I mean, I'm still sitting here. I'm not croaked. I'm still sitting here doing my thing.
I may be jumping ahead, but I know some counties are saying we're opening, and there's
yes,
by the order, and we're going to open. Federal funds not.
So Pritzker's plan had like 7 regions or something like that, but right. We're lumped in. Will County and the other most of the collar counties are lumped in with Cook County. Well, that doesn't seem appropriate. We don't have the population density that they have, and we don't have a lot of public transportation that they have, that people potentially would be exposed in that environment. I just think we're very different from them, and I know some other counties are preparing to kind of push back on Pritzker and say, no, we should be treated differently than that. We shouldn't be lumped in with Cook County.
Yeah, Pritzker keeps doubling down on this thing. I mean, he's just intractable. He said, I think it was Friday, if I remember correctly, but basically he said, Well, if you have a business and you open that business up and people come down with it, your insurance is invalid. Well, first of all, I don't think that's true. But the bigger issue is this: they keep throwing that out to try and intimidate businesses to not open up. What's the gestation period? 2 weeks?
They don't know. The fact of the matter is they don't know. You could fill a book with what they don't know.
Well, true, but it's some period. It's not like I encounter you today and tomorrow I'm going and I'm dying.
No.
So if how can anybody even remotely think that if you go to X place, that weeks later you're going to go, I got this because I went there? Because where else have you gone?
Well, right, because we've heard it attaches to air pollution particles, attaches to the grass, cardboard boxes. It lives in your eyes. It spreads to the air. It's ridiculous the number of ways that you can get it. They're making you so scared to go out of your house. Who knows where you got it?
Well, that's true. It almost
You're
sounds
never
like
going to know.
it almost sounds like taxes. They're just
Well,
everywhere. They
we know where
tax
they come
everything.
from in Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are we at now? But Pritzker, June, is he saying?
Well, so far they're still talking about end of May.
Nobody knows, because at first it was, we have to flatten the curve, and now the curve's flattened, and it's like, oh no, well now we have to make every man, woman, and child is absolutely 100% safe. Otherwise,
Right.
we can't open up,
We have to
gather.
test everybody like every other week, and
Right.
the testing requirements that they're talking about, and now they want to have like an army of contact tracers, which is completely preposterous. I don't even see, like you're saying, it's like I don't think they actually know the incubation period of it. So how are they ever going to figure out where you were? And somebody pointed out on Facebook, this is a valid point, that with Facebook and everything and Twitter the way it is, if you come down with it, all you have to do is go on social media and say, hey, I came down with the virus, so if you saw me in the last 2 weeks, you might get it too. So I think the whole contact tracing thing is pie in the sky. I think it's ridiculous. Our head of public health in Will County has been saying for over a month, just assume it's everywhere. There's no way to do contact tracing. She's been saying that for weeks. And so it's like, I don't understand where Pritzker, who's not a doctor at all, thinks that he knows how contact tracing is going to work when our head of public health goes, you can't do it.
Well, this continues to go back to what I consider to be the actual crux of the matter, and that is it's about control. They're just testing the waters on this thing.
Oh yeah.
I think that the virus is true, but it's the Rahm Emanuel, never let a good crisis go to waste. That is what concerns me the most.
Yeah.
But Pritzker's been talking to epidemiologists. I mean, that's a big word for him. He's been using that one lately.
It must be true because it's a big word. It has more than 3 syllables.
It's not photosynthesis. We're going to have to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about Trump. A lot of this has been to try and torpedo Trump. So let's talk about that when we return and his approval ratings. So we'll be back with more on Target Radio after a few messages. And you're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
Actually, I do at some point. I want to start with the COVID-19 task force refocusing article, because it is funny. Actually, last week, the day before the show last week, so last Tuesday, they said they were going to end the task force by the end of May. And then this article says, like, the next day, everybody lost their minds. Like, the media lost their minds of, you can't end the task force. Their work isn't done. We still need them, blah, blah, blah. And so I do want to talk about that, because it happened the week after. And it is funny what Trump says. He says, I thought we could wind it down sooner. I had no idea how popular the task force is.
It's like the Space Force. We got to keep it going.
I'm like, that is just it's so Trump, and it's so funny.
Well, then you're bringing it back.
Okay, that's fine.
That's your punishment, Gretchen.
That's it.
That's right.
I learned it in the Army. Never volunteer. You just did. So I'm good when you are then.
Okay.
All right, segment 2, rolling.
And we're back with more on Target Radio. So before we get to Trump's approval ratings, I do want to talk about, so this happened a week ago. It happened on like Tuesday the 5th. and I wanted to talk about it on the show last week, and then it would have been old news by the next day. So it's kind of funny that we didn't end up talking about it. Is Trump had said about a week ago that he wanted to wind down the task force by the end of May, and the media went nuts. The media lost their minds. They said, oh gosh, there was just a media maelstrom, is what this article said. Democrats criticized Trump's reopening strategy, saying more federal support for testing and contact tracing is needed. And then, so Trump said, a day after he said they were going to wind it down, then he said the task force would continue after all indefinitely. He said, I thought we could wind it down sooner. I had no idea how popular the task force is. And then he said the membership in the group would change as the nature of the crisis evolves.
Well, you know, why wouldn't we wind it down until you can get everybody microchipped? I mean, that's the whole point, right?
And Bill Gates has that all set up for us.
Yeah, until we have the mark of the beast, ready to go, then yeah, we got to keep it going.
You know what I've always said about committees, and a task force is just a government name for a committee. They're the epoxy that lubricate the wheels of progress. I mean, the longer these things exist, well, joking aside, the reality is, and you can see it in state legislatures, if you have a full-time, this is what they do, then they feel like they have to justify having a full-time. And it just drags on for all eternity. I mean, in legislatures, full-time legislatures spend more money just because they got nothing else to do. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Sure, if you follow the money, it goes somewhere.
Oh yeah, no question.
Oh yeah, it always goes somewhere. Back into taxes, where generally it goes.
No,
that's where it comes from.
And it turns right around. They tax you on taxes. The interesting thing is to get into the political aspect of this. Fundamentally, this is to try and unseat. This is another let's unseat Trump thing. They're getting a little paranoid. They're getting closer to the election, and he's like the Teflon Dom. I mean, they can't seem to get rid of him. And now his approval rating, this just makes me want to laugh. It's so funny. After all this is going on, and it's on his watch, you would think, and they I'm sure thought this is going to sink him for sure. His approval rating goes up.
Yeah, so this is about 2 weeks old, but it was a Gallup survey, so not a right-leaning organization.
Right.
Gallup survey said 49% of respondents approve of his performance versus 47% disapproving, which I just found this very surprising, because just based on like social media and what you're seeing, like people are hating on him, and so if you believe social media and mainstream media, you would believe that his approval rating should be in the crapper.
Well, I think his approval rating was around 49% before the virus too, wasn't it?
This says it's an all-time high.
Okay,
yeah.
I think it was close to that, but I think the key is that it really hasn't changed much.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, he's been in the 40 range for a long time. Yeah.
And the reality is, this is social media. The vast majority of Americans are not on social media.
You don't think so?
I
think they are.
I absolutely. Just looking at our club reaffirms to me that it's true. The social media people tend to be fairly small in number relative to the general population.
I only know a few people who are not.
Same here.
Yeah.
Well, but you're plugged into a political group that communicates that way.
That's true.
But the average person who has a hardware business or a restaurant or whatever, they don't, first of all, they don't have time to be on social media. Small business people work ridiculously long hours. These people aren't. I mean, people that I come in contact with, my doctor, lawyers, they're not on social media. I mean, they may have a presence, they may have a website, they may have a Facebook page to tell what their business is, but you go, hey, did you see this meme on social media? And they always go, no, no, I didn't. I don't have time to do that. So I don't know that it's that particularly good. Now, the one problem with social media is if you know how to control it, that you can turn out a lot of people because you have direct contact with them. I mean, that's true. You don't have general population direct contact. So it does serve to that purpose. But yeah, I look, the guy didn't cause the pandemic. It's not his fault. And I think most people, if they don't look at the political aspect or they don't even recognize there is a political aspect, they look at him and they go, God, he's doing the best he can do. You
Yeah.
know?
And as you say, he's walking the line between what the scientists are saying and what he himself, his opinion probably is. I think one reason why he's got such good approval ratings is he's doing things like this. He directed the National Economic Council director Larry Kudlow and National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien on Monday sent a letter to Labor Secretary Eugene Scalia stating the White House did not want federal employees' retirement funds invested in Chinese equities anymore. So they reminded the Labor Secretary that Chinese companies have cost investors billions of dollars over the last few years, and the regime prevents any company with Chinese operations listed on U.S. exchanges from complying with applicable U.S. security law, which leaves investors unprotected. And then also, they concealed critical information from the United States and the rest of the world regarding COVID-19 and exacerbated the ensuing global pandemic. So I think this is the type of thing that Trump does that people really appreciate him for. Is he doesn't let things like this go unanswered or unpunished.
Yeah.
So I was looking at, since this was a Gallup poll, I went back and looked at the Gallup approval ratings for Trump, and it looks like they do one every couple weeks. And since the middle of last year, like June, he was around 41, 42%. Lowest was 39, but starting in January, it went from 44 to 49 to 47 back to 49. So it's been high lately.
And I can't think of a president in recent history that's been that high.
Yeah, it's really good. Although the same article puts Joe Biden ahead of him in the polls as far as like if the election were today, but well, they all thought Hillary was going to win, so I don't pay too much attention to that.
Yeah, and if he doesn't implode, I still can't believe that he actually says the things that he says in front of a camera. I can you imagine if a Republican said stuff like that?
No, I can't. I think that his people, the people that surround him, I think they need to bring back the old-fashioned hook from vaudeville days. I mean that's something that he could understand. It's back from his time. So, I think they just need to like pull him off the stage.
Yeah, he's a piece of work. There's no doubt about that. It's well, I was going to relate to a T-shirt I saw, but it occurs to me I'll get beeped if I do, so we're just going to let that.
Oh, come on! I get beeped every week. Come on.
Haven't you seen that one that said Biden 2020 and there was a pair of hands around? It was on a woman. Yeah.
Yeah, right on the chest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, what did I just see? There's a movement pitching Biden with Sanders. There's a movement to do that.
I don't think Sanders would go for that, to be honest with you. I mean, that would be a winner for Biden, but I don't think Sanders would do it.
Sanders endorsed Biden though, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could have been the agreement. I don't know, because it was kind of odd for him to endorse Biden.
It might be his only shot at ever actually having any say in anything.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Yeah, I agree.
And he does capture the one thing you can say about it. All things considered, Biden is more conservative than people think he is. I mean, he's old school in that manner, right? And Sanders is not. So Sanders sort of satisfies the way more liberal group in Congress.
The socialist crowd.
The what?
The socialist crowd.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he sort of punches that ticket, and Biden really doesn't punch that ticket. So I don't know. It might make sense as a match. I don't know. I would rather see AOC, but she's not old enough. AOC would be a perfect running mate for Biden. She could even rub his legs underwater.
No, wait a second. Does the vice president candidate have to be 35?
Sure, because you got to qualify to be president. If you can't qualify to be president, you can't qualify to be vice president.
I thought maybe that's one way she could like sneak in.
Well, there you go. We have to take another break. We're going to talk about Governor Pritzker's wife when we return. That's a good deal. So we'll be back with more On Target Radio, and you're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
So before we do the next segment, I have to find something on Facebook.
Okay.
About this. So I don't have paper on all of this, but because I was not able to find a story, but it must have been reported somewhere because my coworker said that JB Pritzker went to Florida for Mother's Day, and then magically one of his staffers came down with COVID-19.
I heard that.
And he has to work from home. So I think he's running a game on us.
Pritzker has to work from home, or the staffer?
Both.
Which
Everybody-
Move back from SeaWorld?
Which
Everybody
Pritzker?
who came in contact with that staffer now has to quarantine themselves at home.
And Pritzker follows those rules so closely.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure we know he's not going to the gym. So
We know he's never gone to the gym.
The question is
likely.
he going to Oberweis though? Because I mean, it's a Republican place, but he's going there.
yeah, I don't know. He probably sends somebody so they don't know that he's patronizing Overwife.
He probably goes to Cold Stone or something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
What political party they affiliate with.
Okay, well, you know the rest of this, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I just
so
want to find this one thing.
The
It
vice
looks like-
president is 35,
Okay. So
according to Wikipedia.
are you good to go?
No.
Okay.
I'm still looking for something on Facebook.
Okay.
You know, the social media nobody uses, Dave.
Yeah, that's right. It was something about people from Illinois should contact the Attorney General's office to say that our rights are being infringed. Can't find it.
Not seeing it. I mean, you could just make it up with your own idea.
Did you guys see? That I posted a meme of Trump talking to Barr and saying, "Don't when we start the hangings, don't use that cheap rope from China."
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that.
I saw
And
that.
my friend, from Milliken, my classmate from Milliken, commented, "Oh, Republicans are considered racist, so that might be offensive. You probably shouldn't have this, post this." And so instead of just, because at first I thought about it first, I didn't respond to him right away. I slept on it, and then I was like, my classmate from Milliken, and I so then this morning I commented on my own on the meme, and I tagged George and Raquel, and I said, "Does this bother either one of you guys?" Oh, here we go. I found it. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm ready. I'll bring it back.
Can you turn your camera back on, Dave?
No, I didn't.
Your video's off.
Yeah, can you turn it
It
back
is
on?
off. I don't know.
There's
Maybe I
some
might hit it
key
with a
that-
pen.
Yeah, there's some key that you hit that turns it off. I think it's like enter maybe.
I might have hit it with my pen by accident. Sorry. Okay, we ready to go?
Yep.
All right. And we're
Roll.
back.
Good.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. I find it interesting that the Governor Lockdown, who I think is that's probably the best choice, he was asked he was asked how he's handling the stress of all of this, and he says, "I'll just say I'm managing through this time reasonably well. I think there's an emotional component to this that I'll just not spend a lot of time on." It's difficult for him, I know, because he leads such a shallow life. His wife, remember, his wife is the one that went out and got a haircut, right? When all the screaming was going on about you can't leave your house.
Did she get a haircut? I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
Or was that Lori Lightfoot?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The,
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
mayor,
But she
the
did.
mayor
She
got a
did too.
haircut.
She went out somewhere.
Probably
I
got
don't
a
remember where
haircut
she
too.
went.
Who knows?
Now
Well,
now again.
yeah, she flew down to Florida.
Well, so now again, she's they have a little place in Florida. Apparently,
Yeah.
apparently she likes
Little.
horses, and so, as you know, it was probably a Christmas gift. JB
Yeah.
bought her a $12.1 million equestrian estate, which I don't find that extravagant. You know, I
Yeah.
think that's
So
appropriate.
this was reported by the Patch that that his wife had gone down there, and it was just like a week or two, a week or two ago. It says, while the outlet contends that the governor's wife has no obligation to sequester herself at their Astor Street mansion in the Gold Coast, when her family can hop on a private plane to stay at home in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, the family estate in the Bahamas, and of course their place in the winter equestrian capital of the world in Florida, it admits that the optics are less than ideal.
And so you can see where Pritzker would say that he's managing this time reasonably well.
Yeah.
It's probably it would be difficult. Let's be fair. It would be difficult for him to decide where in the world he wants to spend his sequestered time.
Yes. So I think he's running a game personally. So my coworker apparently had heard a report that Pritzker himself, JB, was also going to go down to Florida for Mother's Day weekend because that's where his wife is. So obviously, in order to celebrate Mother's Day, they would have to be together. And then magically on Sunday, it's found out that one of his staffers has come down with the virus, has COVID-19. And so now everybody has to quarantine at home for 2 weeks. So now JB is doing his daily briefings from his house. And, you know, we supposedly don't know which house he's at, but I think we do.
Do all the staffers have like horse ranches and stuff?
I don't think so.
Do they have choices? I don't know.
I think it's just him.
Yeah. The sort of irony in all this is while they're just gleefully trotting around doing whatever they want to do, which reminds me of who is the guy that for the NFL pick, didn't want to be exposed to anybody, so he went on his $26 million yacht.
You said it was one of the owners. I don't know.
Yeah, it's it's a tough life. It is.
Yeah.
It's a tough life.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, while all this is going on, of course, he's being sued. Pritzker is being sued for wanting to extend the lockdown.
Yeah, so there's a couple of good things that are in the hopper that I hope will help us. That State Representative John Cabello plans to do another lawsuit, but in a way that will apply to everyone in Illinois. He said, "I want to see if what the governor is doing by extending his order is constitutional."
Well, there's a level of arrogance here that is hard to even.
That is the biggest understatement I've heard in a while.
Of course, Pritzker has filed an appeal on it, and he says, I love this, it's a danger to millions of people who might get ill because of this recklessness, talking about, not wanting to extend it, being sued. Disasters don't evaporate on a 30-day time frame. Legislators took this into account when they wrote the law. We will fight this lawsuit to the furthest means possible. I think that's a misprint. I think it should be from the furthest place possible.
Yeah.
I think that's really what that was supposed to say.
Yeah, back when they announced their All in Illinois statewide initiative, which was earlier in the month, Pritzker actually said, every one of us must abide by this to get through this difficult time. But apparently he didn't mean him or his wife.
Well, they're not part of the everyone.
Apparently not.
It's the royal we type of thing.
The other thing that I've seen on social media, which I think has some promise for us, is, Attorney General Barr has said that his office he's got 2 people appointed to go after and investigate our constitutional rights being infringed by various states. And so people are putting this on social media. They're putting his phone number, 202-514-2000, line number 4, leave a message for Attorney General William Barr saying you're from Illinois, and that Illinois governor is violating your constitutional rights, and there needs to be an immediate investigation against Pritzker and his abuse of power.
I think I did hear that Illinois was one of the most restrictive states.
Mm-hmm.
As
Oh,
far
yeah.
as the lockdown goes.
There are other states that are already opened up.
I'm not even just talking about that, but just how far overreaching it was.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as Michigan, but it's definitely up there, top 5.
Right.
I think the height of arrogance is Pritzker saying, all in is our anthem and point of pride. Illinoisans staying home for the good of each other and the good of the state. That is such, I can't say that word. Right.
I'll say it's a load of crap.
There you go. And we'll be back with the smaller load of crap after these 2 messages. We'll return with On Target Radio. And you're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
Leaving that segment the way it is.
Woo! Yeah.
I like it.
Nailed it.
End this is nice. End coronavirus panic porn.
Yeah.
And let's seek some balance.
That's the name of the article.
Is that our John Cass?
Yeah, it is.
He's writing for Town Hall?
Yeah, I didn't know he was writing for Town Hall now.
I didn't know that either. He's good. I like him. He's good. Okay, so you have some sense of understanding what this is about,
so
right?
Eric wants to talk about hospital workers getting laid off, but I want to start with this, and then we'll throw to Eric. And
okay,
Eric
so you can throw it to Eric, and I'll sit here and just watch.
Say his piece.
And try not to hit my video out button.
There you go.
Sounds like a plan, Dave.
Try not to make too many, jerking motion.
Sad thing is, I thought it. She said it.
That's awesome.
Okay, well, it's gonna be one of those shows. Yes,
Gonna be.
We're almost done. We're almost done.
Okay, so I'm gonna sit here like a dog on a leg.
There are things that you must unsee, and that is what.
I'll just say it quietly.
All right, do something other than what we're talking about.
All right, and we're back with more On Target Radio. So I found this article by John Cass in Town Hall. I didn't realize that John Cass was anything other than a liberal. So the fact that he's writing for Town Hall is a little surprising, but it's encouraging, and I do like what he's saying.
He's not really liberal. He's kind of a centrist guy.
Okay. I don't know him personally. So the article is, if you want to look it up and read the whole thing for yourself, the article is called End Coronavirus Panic Porn and Let's Seek Some Balance. But the end, he just really, really nails it at the end. And I feel like he's saying things that I've been saying for a month or so. Please don't tell me to stay safe. I don't wish to be rude, but bleeding "stay safe" at me is infuriating. I won't tell you to stay safe. You know why? Because I have faith you are a rational person who can modify your behavior. And I hope you have faith that I'm not someone who just wants people to die. No one has ever been safe. End coronavirus fear porn now. Turn off the TV news and seek balance.
That's a fairly realistic point of view.
I think it's very good.
And I actually think that's a good segue into what I have to talk about. So there's a lot of people out there on social media right now that are claiming this whole virus is a lie. It's all fake, blah, 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 whatever. And they're basing that on the fact that a lot of people are getting laid off at hospitals and that entire floors of hospitals are closed. And while that is true, the reason for that is because they are canceling elective surgeries. Nobody's going to the emergency room, things like that. The COVID areas in some hospitals are occupied. Now, they're not as occupied as, they expected them to be, and they're definitely not overwhelmed. But, to say that this is all fake and, we should go back to our normal way of life, well, I agree and I disagree. So, obviously I agree that, we need to get back to normal, right? So I don't think I should have to wear a face mask, or anybody should have to when they go out. I mean, there's a lot of evidence that shows that, they don't help, that it makes it worse, that it's, a warm place for the germs to kind of harbor and everything. So, well, I don't think that. I don't agree with the fact that this is all fake. I mean, I know people that have passed away from this. I know people that did get COVID, that it did affect them pretty negatively. But again, to say that, basing the fact that this is real or not on how crowded hospitals are and if workers are getting laid off is the wrong way to go.
I think the issue is there's two aspects to this whole thing. There is the medical aspect, which I don't doubt whatsoever. Although, as was pointed out earlier, and is certainly true, it has been, the numbers have been inflated. But there's the political aspect. And the political aspect is just taking advantage of the fact that the reality of the medical aspect exists. And the political aspect, which is, I had a really long article. It's going to be shorter, but there'll be an article in the next issue of the Illinois Shooter about this. It's about literally this new world order that they've been talking about since the end of World War I. They've been trying to push this. And that's really the kind of disturbing part of all of this. Now, we talked about this, I think, last week. They were talking, what was it, 68,000 or so deaths at one point, and then in one day it dropped to 36,000. So, and finally somebody did come out and say, well, the reason for that is because the hospitals are being paid if they deal with someone who dies dies of the virus. So what was happening is people would die of a death of something, cancer, whatever it was. They would then test the body, find traces of the virus, and report it as that death. Now, why do I say that? Why do I bring it up? Because last year we had about 36,000 flu deaths in this country. Nobody called it a pandemic. The year before we had 80,000 flu deaths in this country. Nobody called it a pandemic. The concept of a pandemic only arose after they couldn't get rid of Trump any other way. They're trying to discredit, they're trying to make him look bad. They figure if the economy crashes, which is what he's been really buoyed up by, and everything goes south, that it'll do him in. Well, they've just did another poll and his ratings are up. So that's what I think this has really been about.
Whatever you believe, let me ask you a question, and I'm just going to ask it to both of you because I just want to kind of get a pulse. So whether or not you're in a high risk category, assume you are in a high risk category for having complications of COVID-19. Would you be concerned if you got it versus if you got the flu? David?
Well, personally, to me, it's the same, because the flu will do the same thing to me as that would. It would congest you. It's what is it, pneumothorax? I think that's the word I want. So no, I wouldn't. If you have a compromised immune deficiency system, and I have leukemia, and I've had it for how long? 5 years, 4 years? I don't know,
yeah.
But it's under control. But theoretically, I fall into that category. You saw me. I mean, I was out all the time. It didn't slow me down.
Nothing can kill him. Nothing can kill Lombardo. Okay. They've tried and tried. Nothing can kill him. Okay. He's never going to die. I'll probably die first. No, I'm not worried about it. I'd actually, I think it'd be fine to get it. I have good health insurance, and I'm sure I would get better. And, if not, so much the better. I'll go home and be with Jesus. So.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay. We're going to have to take another break, but we're going to talk about Chuck Todd, who makes an on-air apology when we return. And so we're going to talk about that and a few other odds and ends when we return with more On Target Radio. And you are listening to AM 560, The Answer.
There was no way to drag that out.
Again.
There was no way. I expended every ounce of thought that was.
I see. I would have jumped in and done another 10 seconds about how the whole McCormick Place thing was like a total sham.
What? Oh, is that they set up for beds?
Yeah, they were going to set up. I think they started with like 500, and they were going to go to 3,000 if they needed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
and they treated like 36 patients. I mean,
But it
it
is
was, like,
true.
ridiculous.
I'm glad we didn't need it.
It
And
is
there
true.
were, of
It-
course. I mean, of course, I'm glad we didn't need it. And they were paying the people who signed up to work there as healthcare workers. They were paying them like ridiculous money, like $13,000 a week, I read. And
Ooh.
so people were quitting their normal jobs because the McCormick Place job was going to pay more. And now they're probably out on their asses. I'm like, ha ha.
But here's the question: was McCormick? Because I didn't really follow that. I knew they were doing it, but was the McCormick Place set up to take virus people or to
Yeah.
take people that would normally go
It
to a
was
hospital?
it was convalescent people with COVID-19.
Okay.
So it was like, you're not on a respirator, but you can't go home.
Because you remember there was a big
Yeah.
criticism in New York about the Navy provided a hospital ship.
Mhm.
Yep.
And people said, well, there was nobody in it. It was a waste. Because they didn't understand. The purpose of that ship was people who had other things that they go to the hospital for were
Mhm.
supposed to go to the ship and take the pressure off the hospital. Well, what
Right.
happened is everyone was staying home. There were no car accidents. There were no murders. I mean, all that stuff sort of dried up because of the situation. And so
Yeah.
that's why they did it. They refitted the ship, but it took a week or something to do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay.
And I think they still didn't end up needing it.
No.
This sounds like
So
a segment.
I did print out the one about the Muslims, but I didn't read it. So did you read it enough, David, to like
No.
know?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, I mean,
That one. Oh, the one.
the headline is funny on its own.
Well, yeah, I
we
mean,
could just go with the headline.
I can get probably a minute out of it. That'd be about it. But
Well, we only have
That's fine.
4, so.
we're in our last segment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll come back with it, but there's not much there.
Okay. Or we could come back with Chuck Todd, and then either way, it doesn't matter.
Well, it'd be easier if you know Chuck Todd that you can milk the Chuck Todd thing because I don't know that much
That's
about,
fine.
you know.
I'll milk Chuck Todd. That's fine.
I just got to find one thing on here. Hold on one second.
Just give me
Can
10
milk
seconds
anything
for
with
the
nipples,
close.
right?
What did somebody say something besides Gretchen? Did I hear?
Yeah.
Give
What
me
did it-
10 seconds for the close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10
Okay.
seconds, Yes.
You give me more, I'll fill with COVID safety tips, I guess. I don't know. Exactly what people don't want to hear.
And tell me to be safe too, and to be safe.
Be safe. Yes.
Oh, if you want to see me vomit on YouTube, that would be a good way to do it.
I'm just looking for one sentence here.
Trust me, it's better than what we saw earlier from Dave.
Yeah, I could take option B there.
Yeah.
I was looking for one sentence that I read in here somewhere, and I can't remember where. Oh well. Okay. Okay, I can. I'll bring it back. I'm just going to say a little bit about it, and then we'll go to Chuck Todd, of which I know dip squat about.
Okay, that's fine.
You ready?
Roll it.
Roll it. Rolling. And we're back with more On Target Radio. Here's just this sort of a side thing where to get off the subject momentarily from the virus. There is a professor, Nicholas Damask, who taught political science at Scottsdale Community College in Arizona for 24 years. And in the process of teaching, he made the comment that Islam, he was taken to task that Islam is a religion of peace, and talked about how if you read the Quran, it's really not a religion of peace. And that infuriated the Muslims in his class, who then threatened his life. Now, they go.
It's called irony.
But it wasn't a speech class, so they didn't know that.
It wasn't an English class.
Exactly.
They were talking about irony.
But there is the classic irony of that. You're right. That is the classic irony. Somebody says if you read the Quran, and this is true, I've gone through a pretty good chunk of it. If you read the Quran, there's a lot more eye for an eye in the Quran than there is in the Old Testament. That's for sure. And for him to say that and have a bunch of Muslim students say that's not true, we're going to kill you, it lacks that touch of irony. I just wanted to bring that one up because I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, even just the title, that's so rich. I mean, you just love it. But anyway, yeah, so Chuck Todd on NBC had to eat crow on Tuesday because his big show is on Sunday, and then he's off on Monday. So on Tuesday, when he was back at work, he had to make a public apology. I shouldn't say had to, but he made a public apology for sound biting Attorney General Barr. And what he said was, in the bite that we aired and commented on, Mr. Barr was asked about how he thinks the history of his decision to end the prosecution of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn will be written. Mr. Barr answered, history is written by the winner, so it largely depends on who's writing the history. But in the full version of the interview and the transcript, he went on to say, but I think a fair history would say that it was a good decision because it upheld the rule of law. Which seems like a completely reasonable quote, but when you leave out the second sentence, he just sounds like Trump going, well, I'm a winner and you're a loser, and we don't play with losers and that sort of thing. So he said, we should have looked at both and checked for a full transcript, a mistake I wish we had not made and one that I wish I had not made.
Well, this whole thing has taken up so much time. I don't know that the House has done anything in the past 2 years. Have they? Have they produced anything of any value whatsoever?
Well, so what happens when the House and the Senate are held by different parties, then the House takes a lot of votes that never go anywhere because the Senate won't ratify what they voted on. And so yeah, they've taken a lot of votes on things that then the bills have just died because the Senate either won't take them up or doesn't have they don't have the votes.
Well, there's a lot of posturing where people will even vote for things that they really wouldn't normally vote for, but they'll vote for it knowing it won't pass, and they can say, well, I voted for that. Right. I voted for that. That happens in Illinois all the time on gun bills. It happens frequently on gun bills where liberals will vote, oh, I'm in favor of that. That's good. You can have that gun, knowing it's never going to pass. And then they get a rating that says that they're pro-gun, and that sunk a couple of people who were friends of ours. But it's a strange world, and people who say draw a line in the sand literally don't know what they're talking about. It doesn't work that way. You can't take a hard stand against stuff these days.
It's funny. I'm actually writing an article for the Shooter about politics and how the game is played and what it's really like to be in politics.
That's a possibility. I don't know. I can't. I've been elected vice president of the ISRA. I got to be careful what I say. So
Congrats.
It is indeed. It's all yours, Eric.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to On Target Radio, and listen next week when we'll be covering more red meat issues that affect your life.
From a horse ranch in Florida.
That was
nice.
Good. He got it in there.
Yeah.
He got it in there.
That works.
Booyah.
That was good.
Boom.
And it's 4:59.
There you go.
Ta-da.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Okay. We all
now
go
what?
away now. Well, we could have dinner. Would you like to join us? You're more than welcome.
Oh, well, thanks. What's for dinner?
Horse.
From the ranch.